Hello, my name is Leslie Cagle, and this is my introduction video to culture diversity. I live in McPherson, Kansas, which is kind of in the center. It's about 45 minutes from Wichita, uh, about 35 minutes from Salina. So it's kind of pretty. It's almost in the center. I teach third grade at USD 308, which is in Hutchinson. And I've been doing that for a couple years now, and the kids are great, and I love my job. My hobbies kind of all reflect around food. So I like to watch 24 Hours to Hell and Back. I love to see people grow and learn and change, and I think that show just really does it. I'm also a huge fan of Beat Bobby Flay and Diner Drive-Ins and Dives, as well as Chopped. It's always been my dream, so in retirement, I really want to have my own restaurant. So I love to watch these shows and dream big. This is my family. My daughter Melody is a sixth grader, so she's in middle school. My son Caden's a fourth grader. We're just a big happy family. This is a little bit of my ancestry, and I know that it was kind of asking about traditions and diversity, and the fact is I really had no clue growing up what we were or where we came from. It was just one of those things where I had no idea. We just kind of it was kind of a running joke that we were American mutts. So my husband bought me a DNA kit for Christmas because I was very curious about my ancestry. And so these are just kind of the results that came from that. So I was very surprised because growing up, my mother and my grandmother was just convinced that we were Cherokee Indians. And in fact, when these results came through and I shared them with them, they refused to believe it. So to this day, they are telling people that they're Cherokee Indians, and I try to tell them DNA doesn't lie. But there are also still people who believe that cold air will give you a cold. So, but my husband is also kind of in the same boat with that. He also didn't have a lot of celebrated culture in his home as well. So we're kind of both kind of learning where we came from and who we are. And I think we're kind of learning how to embrace that. So it's been a great journey so far. 10 pictures that represent me. My first one is diversity. This is kind of probably my most controversial slide because I really feel like despite, some of the racism that can be in people's families or friend circles, that it was never anything that I appreciated. I never liked it, and it made me super uncomfortable, and I hated it. Which is odd. I mean, just because I think a lot of people think whatever you are used to within the home or whatever you grow up with is kind of the direction you lean toward, but it was never a thing for me. I didn't have a lot of racism in my family, but there was more of it than I prefer. So, but growing up, I knew that that was something I never wanted for myself. And I knew that it was something that I never wanted for my children. So it was very important to me as I was growing and as I was becoming who I am today, that not be who my family became. And so I still find myself, even at 41, telling relatives, you can't talk like that in my house, or you can't say these things in front of my children. I won't allow it. So it's one of those things that sad, but it's definitely made me who I am today. I'm very sensitive, which is something I never really knew before. And I have always been I come across, I think, to others as harsh or rough, but it's really a defense mechanism for being sensitive. But I didn't even know it either. I really just kind of believed I was also just kind of a harsh, rough person. But through the years, I have figured out that it's really not the case. I'm actually quite sensitive, and everything weighs heavily on my heart, and I'm constantly in a state of discord. So I really love the image that I put here on this slide because it kind of shows somebody really just battling it. It's like, regardless of where they're at, they're worried about home, or they're worried about the weather, or what's happening somewhere else. And that's just kind of me. No matter where I'm at or what I'm doing, if I'm at school, I'm worried about my kids and dinner and the dog. And when I'm at home, I'm like, oh goodness, how are we going to get that test taken? And how am I going to get some of these, children who aren't getting it? How am I going to get that across to them when I should be, eating or enjoying my family time? So I definitely feel like that's just a huge part of my life and what makes who I am. Being a mother and my mother plays just a huge role in my existence. I struggled with fertility, so I didn't have my first child until I was 30. So I spent a lot of my 20s kind of watching my friends have children, and I was super scared that I would not get to be a mother. And so it really became a part of my identity. And then when it happened, I was so appreciative that it really kind of just overcame me that this is who I am now, and I was happy for it. So, but it really always kind of was a dream of mine. So, I don't know. It all kind of just came together. And my mother is a big role for me because my father has passed, and so growing up, I only had her. And I still have her. You can see here in this picture. We trick or treat together. We do everything together. So we're kind of the Four Musketeers. So it's a good time. Being a wife is a big part of who I am. I want to do well, and he makes me better, so I want to make him better, and it's a partnership, and I always want to live up to my end, and I want to do well for him, and I want to make him proud of me, and it's just a big part of who I am and what I will be in the future. He'll always just be a part of me. And so being his wife is one of my greatest gifts. So I definitely want to make sure that he also feels that way. So, travel is a big part of who I am. Growing up, we were definitely, and I had a lower socioeconomic status. There wasn't a lot of money, and we didn't do a lot of things. So, as an adult now, traveling is huge, not only for myself because I want to see things and I want to experience, but also because I want that for my family and I want that for my kids. And so we have a timeshare in the Caribbean, and one of our favorite places to go is Mexico. So I kind of posted a few of my favorite pictures. We absolutely love going to new places and trying new things. We live for it. I mean, we work to travel. We live to work to travel and to share that with our kids. So faith is a big deal for me, even though it often makes me uncomfortable. I didn't grow up going to church. So often when I go, I don't really know what's going on. And half the time when I've developed my own ideas about what it means and what it's about, and I share them, I kind of find out that I'm wrong. So I still struggle, and it's still something that I don't think I fully grasp, but that's only, the Bible part. But faith and love and hope and God and blessings and grace, those are concepts that I always understood. I mean, even as a child who didn't go to church, I knew what those things meant. And they became a part of my identity. So it's very important to me that I also share those things with the people that I love. Another big part of my identity is my family. And so I am sharing a picture of my two brothers. And growing up, regardless of what we had each other. And that was about it. So it really defined who we are and who we've become and how we've raised our children and how we treat each other now. So there's no way I could post 10 things and not have them be one of them. Being creative is a huge part of who I am. My creativity comes out in many different ways. It definitely comes out in my cooking. And at one point, I did want to have a bakery. And so I posted a couple pictures of some of my cakes. But it follows me no matter what my career path is. As a teacher, I get very creative in the classroom, whether it's how I handle flexible seating or strategies or anchor charts or, what to do for a child who has needs and nobody can figure out what to do with him. It's just that out-of-the-box creative thinking that really leads the way for me. And it embodies me, and it makes me feel so good. So, and it's a huge part of who I am. Another huge part of who I am is my pets. I usually never have more than one at a time, but this is Pongo, and he happens to be my fur son, and we adopted him when he was 3. And so he is my fur baby. So, as I have mentioned, um, food is a big part of who I am. It's kind of interesting because it takes many different shapes. So, I posted many different pictures. Um, One of the pictures you can see is that comfort food, which, growing up, we didn't have a lot, but we had food. So that's how we celebrated. That's how we comforted each other. That's how we loved each other. Um, every weekend, my grandmother made these huge meals, and everyone came to them. Uncles, aunts, cousins, neighbors. I mean, they just came from everywhere to experience her cooking. And there was no such thing as not enough room. I can just remember people sitting in recliners and on the couch, and the table was extended out as much as it could be extended, and still it was fine. People were standing with their plates, and it was almost biblical. Like the food never ran out, there was always enough. And it's just never left me. It's always been that thing with that's how you can show kindness, and that's how you can show love, and that's how you can show warmth, and it's how you can make people feel good from deep inside them. It's food. I embrace all kinds of cooking. Like I said, the comfort food, from the baking and the treats. So you can see there's a Heath Bar fudge, and there's a Chex Mix, like a caramel Chex Mix there. But I've recently also found out that I'm diabetic. So I also posted a picture of this low carb peanut butter ball because recently that's been my new obsession. So I can't fixate on some of these other things anymore. So now I'm very fixated on, okay, well, how can I still give all this warmth and happiness and it be diabetic friendly? So that's just kind of become a newer element to what I'm doing right now. This is me, and I can't wait to meet you. Thank you.